But nowadays, at the same time, with a mobile application where I can do an in-app chat, or I can start a conversation through WhatsApp, through Messenger, where I can handle most of the topics without interacting with an agent, where the AI plays a big role one more time. Again, the customer also is moving from a face-to-face interactions into a virtual web interaction. So now with the new methodologies and new tools, customers, or let's say big companies, they are investing into web applications where they are providing self-service and reducing deflection of cases in their support model. So now the customers, they are more interested into the virtual aspects where they can create their own account, create their bank account, or do a retailing, shopping, without having an interaction. At the same time, it always goes through an AI model, and then at some point, if you need to get in touch with an agent, you will be routed to an agent. So today, that's the purpose, to walk you through these processes. But the reality is that the businesses, most of the businesses, they are not ready for this transformation, for this shift. They are still working in a disconnected mode. What does it mean? It means that currently, you have, with large-scale customers, you have multiple. Thank you. So currently what we notice is that there are multiple systems, and all these systems, they are disconnected. You have a system here with his own database, the other system, and so on. And then the communication across these systems, they are not necessarily all connected. And there is no centralized information across the different systems, which leads to a siloed model or siloed channels. What does it mean? So for instance, when the customer interacts with me through the WhatsApp channel, and then he interacts with Facebook Messenger, and then through SMS or the web chat. Currently, if we take example of Genesis, one of the providers, the customer, the agent is giving a siloed communication with the customer. Why? Because he needs to search the information outside, let's say in an ERP system, and then copy paste the data into the channel. And then the customer, he has to repeat the same information from a channel to another. There is no contextual information about the customer, which leads to many of the manual actions. Now, this is why we have digital engagements and digital channels in Salesforce. And this is where the power of digital channels comes into the picture, where it supports or lets customers connect on multiple channels for continuous engagement. What does this mean? Actually, the customers, they can connect with you as a company through the multiple digital channels, including the WhatsApp, the Messenger, and so on, while delivering a consistent and personalized experience. Technically, this means actually that the customer here, when he starts a touch point with you on WhatsApp, I automatically recognize the customer because everything is within the same platform. It's not siloed. So within the platform of Salesforce, you have the customer 360 view. You have the database where you have all the information around the customer and everything around his historical data or different purchases that he performed on the historically. So which means that if he interacts with WhatsApp or Messenger, every time the agent, he has the customer information, he has the chat conversation, and it includes the full history of the conversation. It's not only the session-based conversation, plus all the other information, see that the agent does not need anymore to copy-paste the information from multiple places. Also, it does reduce the costs, which means that with the power of AI that we have also in Salesforce and with the bots that they currently have also the natural language processing in terms of AI modeling, customers, they initially talk to a bot where many of the processes, they are pre-configured for the customer, and it works based on a model, we call it intent and utterances. So the customer, whenever he asks a question, the model is trained to learn about the different questions that are being asked. And then he can route the customer appropriately to the right branch of the definition of the branch of the bot. And ultimately, if the bot is not able to serve the customer requirements, there is the possibility to route to an agent. And this is where the deflection, increasing the deflection of case, which means that everything will be solved through the bot, most of it, and then increasing also the self-service aspect of a customer. Also, as usual, the digital channels, they are metadata driven. Metadata driven, it means that they could be retrieved and they could be deployed across multiple environments through your application lifecycle management process. And in digital engagement, we do have 3 different types. We have the messaging for in-app and web, the enhanced messaging for Facebook Messenger, for WhatsApp, and also for the texts. Text, it means SMS. Now, if I would like to use the digital engagement, what do I need? So the first thing, the SKU of digital engagement is available only on Lightning, and with the unlimited edition, Salesforce Unlimited Edition, if you have a Service Cloud, you have the web chat available in the service license, plus you have also the Einstein bot that could be leveraged as part of the messaging web app and in-app. Please note that you can create up to 25 conversations for the bots. It means that you can create up to 25 bots that can communicate with customers. Now, when it's in regards with the other messaging channels like the SMS, WhatsApp Messenger, this is where the digital engagement SKU comes into the picture. And this is where you need to pay an additional fee. And that's the value of the digital channels. It includes mainly the outbound messages, the inbound messages, which means from a customer to an agent. But everything that is from an agent to a customer, this is also an add-on that you need to pay for it. Okay, so probably now let's talk a little bit about technology. So let's take a look at the different messaging channels that we have. And the first one I would like to start talking about is the WhatsApp, SMS, and messengers. So we during an era, there has always been the traditional chat, which is the live chat transcript. For those who are familiar with Service Cloud, there has always been live chat transcript. And the live chat transcript, it is the legacy. Now we are moving into the messaging approach. Now, technically, functionally, what's the difference between a traditional chat and messaging? It is a session-based interaction, the legacy one. What does it mean? There is always a start date and an end date. And after the end of the session, the history of the conversation is lost for the customer, so which means he can't chat during a certain period. And after the inactivity period, the session either is closed by an agent or it is terminated due to the inactivity period. And after that, if the customer wants to interact, if he had a timeout and he would like to interact, he has to restart from the beginning, which means now in terms of a journey, it is not optimal. Every time he has to repeat the same thing. With the messaging, no, it is persistent conversation and it is asynchronous. The customer initiates a conversation, it is routed to an agent. Now, the agent is building up the history or the conversation history with the customer, and at some point, if he is not available, the customer is not available, he does not need to respond immediately. So whenever he has the chance to respond, the session if the session has already been moved into an inactive state, he can always restore the conversation and re-engage with Salesforce. When we re-engage with Salesforce, it is either the same agent based on the availability, or it is a different agent who is the most available based on the routing mechanism that we will talk about it a bit more. So the messaging, the first key message is that it is asynchronous. You don't need to be in front of your laptop, you don't need to be in front of your mobile phone to respond to an agent. Respond when you have time. And the long life or the life cycle of a conversation is too long compared to the traditional chat. Then we do have the limited availability. With the legacy, all the chats, they are always working based on operating hours, and also based on the availability of the agents. So if you have no agent is available, no operating hours, you cannot do much. But with and then even if you found an agent and you are talking to an agent, if somehow due some, let's say, connectivity issues, the session is disconnected. And once disconnected, it's lost. And then you lose the conversation. You will have always to re-engage and start from the beginning. While with the messaging, it's 24/7. You start the conversation and it is there. We will see it in a demo where the conversation remains there, and then once you pick it up and you talk again, it will route to the most appropriately available agent. And then we do have the lack of visibility, which is the same thing that I was repeating, is that the information is lost. So you lose track of what will have been said before. With the messaging, the full conversation history, it keeps there. And you keep building up on the conversation to see what the customer has been discussing in the previous chats. Now, if we take example of WhatsApp, how can I connect with the customer? What are the two different methods? So the first thing is the customer-initiated conversation, where the customer, there is a business number, a WhatsApp business number that you contact, and then in Salesforce, there is a messaging channel. Messaging channel, it means that for WhatsApp, I would like to receive conversations from this number. And when you receive the conversation from the messaging channel, either you decide to route to a queue or you decide to route to a bot. And with Salesforce, we do have the omni-channel flow, which is the new, let's say, the new methodology of routing. You don't need to route to a single queue, but you route to a flow. It's omni-channel flow. And within the omni-channel flow, you can make complex decisions to route appropriately to the right business requirement. You need to note that for a messaging channel, you can link it to one WhatsApp number. You cannot link it to multiple WhatsApp numbers. And if the customer does already have a WhatsApp business number, you cannot reuse it in Salesforce. You need to have a new one. And if it is an enhanced number, it cannot be used by standard. Because in Salesforce, you do have the enhanced channels, and you have the standard channels. So there is slightly, there are some differences, especially on the customer experience. We will see that probably afterwards. But the difference is that you cannot reuse the numbers. Then you do have the company outbound notifications. It means that the agent can initiate a discussion with the customer. He can trigger a conversation either through WhatsApp or through SMS. But this does not come out of the box with the digital engagement SKU. You would need to pay additional fees, actually, as usual. Now, sorry, maybe it's not that obvious in the screen, but practically, if I would like to set up the WhatsApp channel, messaging channel, what should I do? Many of you, maybe if you have heard about it the first time and you think, okay, it's maybe complex, what can I do, what should I do, I need a lot of customization, I need a lot of development. No, you just need the license. You need to have a Meta business account, and the Meta business account, the Facebook Meta business account. Then you need to have a WhatsApp business account, and then you have a WhatsApp number, business account number. Once you have this and the number has been verified by Salesforce, so as you can see, these are the steps, the 3 steps. So here you enter the different informations. Salesforce will route you appropriately to the right interface. And then once the configuration is complete, actually now you can start receiving conversations. And this is where we start, the messaging channel, where we do the configuration, and then you can decide to which flow you would like to route. And this is where you route to a bot. And inside the bot, you have the dialogues where you can do whatever you decide to do in your business. And the most important thing, again, it is asynchronous conversation. So you reply when you have time, and then the conversation, it keeps building up. Okay, so if we would like to take a look at the life cycle of a conversation in the messaging, what's different and what's the life cycle actually? So the first thing is that when the customer, he interacts through a web page and he initiates a chat, it creates a messaging session. So this is the record. The difference between the legacy and the new, the legacy, it had one record, it's called live chat transcript. But with the messaging, there is a messaging session, which is the session where the conversation is happening. It has the context, it has the user who is interacting. Either he is a customer that have been identified, or it is a guest customer that we couldn't identify. And then there is the conversation entry. The conversation entry, it's every time you type something, it is persisted into the database. Now, when the messaging session is started, which means that the customer, he clicks on the button, the session goes into a waiting state, which means that now the bot has been triggered and it is waiting for a routing, which means it's trying to find which queue it is and within the queue which agent is available. Now, once it has routed to the most available agent based on the routing model, it will, the stage of the conversation session will become active, which means now an agent has a capacity and he accepted the work and he is working on the item. Now, during the chat, if at some point the customer is inactive, the agent, so well, actually the configuration allows to set the conversation into an inactive mode after a certain amount of minutes, let's say 5 minutes. If the customer does not respond or is responded or the session did not go into an inactive state, the agent also can mark the session as inactive. Once it has been marked as inactive, the capacity of the agent will decrease, and then he should be able to pick other things. But this does not mean that the session has been ended and the customer, he lost his conversation. He can re-engage, again, up to 24 hours, up to 24 hours for the web chat, but for WhatsApp Messenger, it's forever. Now, with the web chat, if the customer does pick the conversation within 24 hours, it does again go into the cycle waiting and then active until it has been ended. Okay, now let's take a look at the web. Well, how does it look like? What's different? So with the messaging for in-app and web, it's now promoting a new model of conversation, a rich conversation, and also an asynchronous conversation compared to the legacy chat, where we are providing a support 24 hours by 24/7, which means, again, through the bots. So where the interaction always now, it goes through the bots most of the time, and then based on the availability, we will route to the most appropriate agent. Also a modern experience where the customers now, they have the session is longer, and in terms of capabilities. So for instance, for those with the WhatsApp, for instance, whenever you send to someone, you see the two blue checkboxes. We do have the same thing now in the chat also, which wasn't the case earlier. You have also the typing indicator. When an agent is talking to you, you can see that the agent is typing, and like this, you can also monitor if an agent is working with you or not. Also, the re-engage conversation, it means that whenever there is a new notification, you receive it on the browser from a customer side and also from an agent side. So it's always a nudge with a sound that you have received a new message. And also during the inactivity period, you can receive a nudge from the browser. And with the messaging, we are also increasing the agent productivity and the satisfaction. It means that the agents now, they can take more than an item at the same time. You can manage their capacities to work on multiple chats at the same time. And also, ultimately, the work items, they can be paused, where you can deprioritize a work compared to another, and which means that you can take more. Probably I'll talk about this a bit more in the with the omnichannel. Okay, so how does it work, or the routing? So initially, the customer, when we talk about messaging for in-app and web, in-app, it means the mobile app. So previously, we had one button, a chat button with the live chat transcript that you generate, and you can embed it in the web app or in the mobile. Now Salesforce, it has made a difference between the two, where you create a messaging for in-app and messaging for web, and then the way it is embedded on the mobile, it's not the same thing, where there are some capabilities that are only exclusive for the mobile and others that are exclusive for the web. Don't really recall all the differences, but there are slightly some differences. Now, when the chat request has been initiated, so the first thing is that there is a service channel and there is a routing configuration that finds that for the channel of the messaging, I need to open a session. There is a messaging channel. I open a session, and then based on this session, I route to a bot. Now, within the bot, I do have a different dialogues where I can decide I need to do this, or I need to do that, I need to ask a question, or I need to give menu, or I have an intent where I provide utterances and then I provide responses. And at the end, up to the last answer, you decide either you complete the session or you route to an agent. And when you route to an agent, this is where omnichannel comes into the picture, where you do assign to agents either based on queues or based on skills, and depending on your routing model. But both of them can coexist in the same org for the same purposes. And if you would like to set up the web chat, you start with setting up the messaging channel, and afterwards you set up the embedded service. The embedded service is the button itself that you deploy in your public websites or even in the community if you would like to. Now let's talk about the bots. So I've been bothering you a little bit about the bots. So in Salesforce, we do have two different types of bots. We do have the standard and the enhanced bot. And then technically why there are two. So now Salesforce introduced the enhanced messaging for these channels, for the WhatsApp, Messenger, and so on. And with the enhanced messaging, there is the feature of the omni-channel flow, which is the complex routing for the different customers, which didn't exist on the previous, let's say, on the standard channels. And then these enhanced messaging channels, they are not available for the standard bot. So you would need definitely to create an enhanced. But for those customers that already have a standard one, Salesforce is offering you the possibility to convert a standard bot into an enhanced bot. It does the conversion, actually. Now, what else? As we said, yeah, the new messaging channels, the enhanced ones. We do have the omni-channel flow-based routing. For me, this is, I love it, actually, because it does reduce a lot of complexity that I had, that I have seen before in terms of routing. Because earlier, we had to create multiple buttons, or we had to hack, let's say, the logic in the front so that I can make decisions before I route, make decisions to which queue I need to go. But with the omni-channel flow, it is flow-based, and based on inputs that you receive from the customer, you can decide to which branch you would need to route to. And then in terms of experience, it is rich, where you have now rich content support, and then the outbound attachments that wasn't before also. And at the same time, when you are building the bot, earlier there wasn't the possibility to do a text preview, which means that every time you have to build, you have to compile, you have to deploy, and you have to activate it, and then you can see what does it look like. With the enhanced, you can see that during the implementation. And again, the deployment, it's let's say it is a metadata driven also, where you can retrieve all the changes in your local machine and deploy it through your deployment lifecycle. Probably it's not that visible, but from the bot you do have the different dialogues that you can configure, and inside the dialogue you can say multiple questions, or you can say I have you have variables actually that you can store, and then you can build your process flow. If you know Lucidchart, where you can design diagrams, the same thing can be the arborescence or the map can be built inside the bot. And then the bot can leverage we call them the messaging components, which means you can build dynamic questions with answers, you can build forms, you can build survey links that could be included also with, let's say, the overall flow of the bot. Okay, now I'll move on to the omni-channel. So we saw, so far we saw the experience of the customer, what's different with the customer. Now, what is, from an agent perspective, how does it look like, and what should I do? So the first thing, when we are talking about digital engagement, 90% of the scenarios we do have Service Cloud. And when we have Service Cloud, we do have the console, the Lightning console, where the navigation, the first thing that you know about the console is the navigation. So you always have the primary tab, and then all the other sub-tabs, they open as secondary tabs. Primary tab is usually the account, and then you have the cases, the orders, the chats, that they could open as a secondary. And which means that in terms of view, you have everything in the same place. You don't need to navigate into multiple places. Now, within the console, you do have also we call it the widget. The widget, it's usually at the top of the console, Lightning console app. In the widget, this is where omni-channel comes into the picture. So the agent, he does have we call it the omni-channel service presence. This is where the agent, he does set his presence status. I am available for chat, I am available for WhatsApp, I am available for phone, or I am not available at all, which is the busy state. And when I am available, all these are different channel services. So I have a channel service for messaging, I have a channel service for web chat, and also for email. So in terms of omni-channel, what does this mean? So you create the service channel, which means the channel that you want to manage. So for the email, it's for email to case. For the phone, it's the CTI integration. And then for the messaging, you do have the live messaging. Live messaging, it includes the three, WhatsApp, Messenger, and the web chat. Now, once you configure the service channel, you have the routing configuration. So in the routing configuration in omni-channel, you do configure the routing model. The routing model, it means that do I route based on the most available or the least active? And the most available, it means when you compare the full capacity of an agent, you can see how many work items he's working on. And when you make the difference, this is how Salesforce finds the most available agent and route to. The least active is the one who has most work and he has least capacity. That's the one that will be routed to. And in the configuration also, you can configure, besides the routing model, you can also define the priority, which means that whenever you receive a chat, it always has a priority compared to an email. And then also you have the presence configuration. The presence configuration, this is where you say that for an agent, I can take up to 20 conversations, let's say up to 10 conversations. And you can define the weight of service channel. So which means that for an email, you can say that the weight of a work item in an email is 1. But the weight of a messaging or chat is 3, which means that if I don't have any work item, I can take up to 3 chats at the same time, plus 1 email. If I have 5 emails, you can do the count. So that's, for me, this is a big advantage with Salesforce, where you can set up the priority and also set up the weight of a work item compared to the overall capacity. Okay, so that's basically what I explained. We do have the routing configuration, the service presence, and then based on the agent's capacity and the availability of the agent, we route to the most available one. Then the chat will be prompted through the widget. Either he has to accept it, or it can be configured to auto accept, which means once you have a capacity, the item will be pushed to you, and you will have to start working on it. And you can configure if you can decline or not. There are a lot of capabilities that you can set up on each. Now there is Now there is let's say the supervisor. So there is the agent view, and then there is also the supervisor view in the console also, where the supervisor, he can manage the capacity of the different agents. So he can see who is doing what, on which channel he is working on, what are the different queues that he is configured on, and what is the current capacity. And at the same time, he can monitor what is being said by the agent to the customer. And at any point, he can nudge in, which means he can whisper to the agent, tell him, for this customer, can you please send him this information, or why you are saying this, or why you are saying that. And vice versa. The agent can raise a flag to a supervisor to tell him, I need an assistance on this case, can you please support me. Plus, there are other informations that we probably, now I will show you on a quick demo probably. Okay, so I'll take an example of a bot. So in the messaging channel, the first thing that you can do is to do a pre-chat configuration. And in the pre-chat configuration, it's based on the customer requirements, where you get a couple of informations before you engage with the customer. And this, for us, this is a Lightning Web Components that we have embedded in the chat. Actually, in the enhanced messaging channel, this has just become available on the Winter 24. Previously, it wasn't there, but in the legacy, it always exists. So the purpose here now, the customer has been identified, the chat has been initiated, and now we are talking to a bot. So the first thing, we are sending, let's say, the privacy and the consent management model. And then now I would like to ask, where is it? Delivery parts, okay. So this is an intent. So for instance, when I type enter, it doesn't work because we have disabled that the enter is sent. So that's also a feature from a customer experience. Now, when I send the delivery part, we have configured an intent called delivery part. And then there are multiple utterances. I want to know delivery parts. Can you give me information about my delivery? All these utterances, the model is building the AI around it, the NLP, and then it starts learning from different sentences. And the more utterances you give, the better the model is. Now, it did identify that this is a branch, and then let's say I want to speak to an agent. So one of the advantages also of the enhanced is the buttons. Okay, so now I have received a request. So this is the new chat. Okay, maybe I need to zoom out. I don't know if it's clear. Okay. So here, as you can see, this is the conversation. It opens as a let's say here as a primary tab. So, and then since the customer was not identified, it did link it to a guest. So the customer was not found. But if I already have let's say a person account already created in the platform, it would have linked it to this customer through the conversation session, the messaging user, and then would have properly linked it to the messaging session. Now, in terms of capabilities, if you want to see, so here you can you can transfer to a flow, to a queue, or to an agent, and then we do have also the quick text capability, where the agent does not need to type every time the same sentence, or there are some pre-built components that could be introduced and sent to the customer. Now automatically the customer is receiving the information. Okay, then I would like to show you that I want to raise a flag. So maybe I'll just sit. I need support. Okay, so I will log in as a supervisor. So in omnichannel supervisor, So here, that's the, let's say, the new feature of the enhanced omnichannel, where you have a dashboard or a reporting on the agent's capacity, who is working on what, the average wait time, the idle time, the different raised flags, and then you can see the different agents that are connected. So here from the console, you can see that the Jamal is working on 2 different conversations, and the current status. So this is my current capacity, the primary capacity, and the workload is 4 out of 6. That's the overall. And here I can see, in terms of a queue backlog, these are the different queues that have been configured and who is working on what. Same thing for the skills. Now, if I go to myself, I see that I have a raised flag here. So now I can monitor. Monitor, it opens the session, and I can see the conversation here. Yes, agent. Okay, sorry, I'm just... So here we can see that the information that was sent by the supervisor, only the agent can see it, but the customer cannot. So if we go to the customer conversation, we notice that the conversation, there are no informations there. Okay, now one thing that I would like to notice, that I have to mention, which also aligns with the asynchronous process. So now I am going to set the conversation into inactive. Inactive, it means now if I go to inactive, and then I will close the chat. If I go to the omnichannel supervisor, I will notice that my current capacity is 0. Now, if I go to the customer side, I will notice that the conversation, I have left the conversation. But the chat is still here, still around. So this is where I say it is asynchronous. I can re-engage. Now it will automatically reroute to the bot one more time, and then pick it from the beginning. Dependent, okay, speak to agent. Now we can see that the capacity has changed, and this is the new chat. And as we can notice, that the conversation is the full one from the beginning. Now this is what it is about the let's say the configuration. Now technically, if we would like just to have a quick look about the messaging, so this is the messaging channel that you set up for the different let's say bots, and in the messaging channel, this is where you mention this is an in-app, or this is a WhatsApp, and so on. And this is where you mention that I would like to do a routing to a flow. So for instance, here, this is where the process is, the routing type is omni-channel flow, and you route to a bot, and this is a fallback. And for instance, at the end of the chat, you mentioned that I want to send a survey, which is the scenario that we haven't tested. And thank you, Hamza, for Hamza. We are working together on the same project. So now when I send the survey, automatically it does link the survey invitation. It generates a survey invitation, and in the background it does also generate the response. So it captures the response for every message, and then link it to the customer that have been identified, which means at the end I can generate a reporting on who answered and when he answered, and what are the let's say the answers for the different questions. I think I have covered everything. I'll go back to my presentation, and yeah, and with this I think I covered everything. Thank you for your presence today. If you have questions, feel free to ask. So we are here for that. Was it that clear?
So thank you for your presentation. It was very interesting.
Sure thing.
And I think with the legacy system, there is always a possibility to invite an agent to the chat.
Yes.
Is this possible in the new?
Yes. Yeah,
you can invite another agent
for the web chat.
Yes.
For the web chat, the conversation. You mean multiple conversation? No, it's still
the same.
The conference.
Conference mode.
The conference is not yet available in the enhanced. Yeah, definitely that's a good one. It's still not available, and in the WhatsApp it's not there. It's not even on the roadmap. Okay. Yeah.
I think the question that comes up to mind is, so there is a process which identifies me as a customer, So what if I start a new session, but from another channel, for example, from WhatsApp?
Yes. Okay, so if you start another channel, another conversation from another channel, you can unify the customer identification process, because at the end, you talk to your customer, you build a process, because at the end it is a process, a flow that you will need to build for your customer. And this flow, you can embed it in multiple channels. And at the end, you can end up finding the same customer based on the same information. So for WhatsApp, let's say you can start by, because the customer identification for WhatsApp, Messenger, the specificity is that you cannot include the Lightning Web component. But the solution is that you can call a bot from a bot. And it is always counted as one conversation. So the second bot could be considered as, let's say, a general flow that could be reused on the different channels. And at the end, you will end up by the same process repeated everywhere. Thank you. Okay, I think if there are no questions, shukran, and thanks for being here.